Hello everybody, welcome back to the show. Today we are going over two of my favorite things to talk about. If you are my friends, you'll know I'll never shut up about these things. On the one hand, we have my love for firearms, and we have just my general interest in firearms and history and whatever. But on the other hand, that's something I really haven't shown on this channel before, is my love for dinosaurs. Now, I grew up watching the Jurassic Park films, saw the Jurassic World films in theaters, great stuff. And I actually read the novels before I ever watched the movie. So, with that said, I figured I'll do a video on not just the guns we see in the film, which this is a pretty good representation of what we mostly see, in the novel at least, but we'll also discuss the ones that are in the film, and then at the end, I'll tell you what I would carry, because, that's important. This is my channel. All right, with that said, let's get into it. Hope you stick around. Oh, good, you stayed. So, like any good adventurer, outdoorsman, hunter, you have to know what you're hunting. Now, this is where I can break it up into real world versus Jurassic Park lore. So first, let's go over what the real dinosaurs would have been, or would have looked like in the real world. And as I go along, there will be pictures. So, to start off with, let's just talk about some of the things we do know about them. One, they're bigger than you. Two, they have scales, which we actually, in the fossil records, we have a representation of scales that was actually saved in a Carnotaurus that they found that had almost all of its scales intact, that gave us a good representation of what the skin looked like, at least for Carnotaurus, to my knowledge. If I'm wrong about any of the dinosaur information that I'm about to put out here, please leave a comment below and I will know for future reference. But going off this picture, you will see that there is a scale and a nub scale, which can be a certain level of armor that you will have to be able to penetrate. And these animals are also, they're meaty. They're not like the ones we see in Jurassic Park over here, where they're all skin and bones and shrink wrapped, I think is the word that most paleontologists use. No, in reality, like every other animal in the world, they're gonna have some meat on their bones, they're gonna have some body fat, and that's something you're gonna have to take into consideration when picking your rifle to carry. Handgun, out of the question. I would not go into these jungles at all with just a handgun, because first of all, these animals are fast, and the fossil record indicate that they can be very fast and very mobile when threatened or hunting or whatever the circumstance might be. And something else we know about them from the modern fossil record is, dinosaurs weren't dumb. They had brainal cavities like birds, and even some had brainal cavities designed like cats. So with that in mind, you have to think of a intelligent animal that you're competing against, like a tiger. Like in a modern representation, you'd think of a tiger, or actually a tiger's a great example, but we'll get to that in a minute. But you have to keep in mind that these creatures are smart and they are instinctive. They're not like us, where our brains, we're smarter animals. Don't get me wrong, humans are the smartest animal on the planet. But a lot of us, it takes some mental calculations and some timing to do that, whereas these animals will act on instinct, as any big game hunter will know. But going back to my comment about the tiger. So, most dinosaurs, from what I've understood and read, they are believing, at least the carnivore-eating ones and the dangerous ones, we'll say, if they weren't scavengers, they were either pack hunters or ambush predators, which leads to the whole idea of why their bodies are designed the way they are, with the big legs, small arms, and almost vertical body line. So again, that's something you have to keep in mind. Now let's address the ones in the book and in the movies. So something you're gonna have to take into consideration here is these are not like these dinosaurs are clones. They are not what we would see in the fossil record, because according to the lore, the dinosaurs were made in a lab, obviously, and they were made from the blood that they would pull from a mosquito. It's trapped in amber. Well, there's a couple complications there. One mosquito could have multiple different DNAs of different dinosaurs, because it's just using the blood for nutrients and whatever it uses the blood for. It's not like picking one dinosaur, getting full, and then carrying on until its stomach's empty. It's constantly going from dinosaur, mammal, whatever it's. All right, sorry guys, my camera went out on me and I had to make some adjustments. But going back to what I was talking about, the dino DNA at that point was blended with that of a frog, and once you do that, you no longer have a true dinosaur, because now that DNA is going to splice into other things, like the way the skin is, the way it acts and reacts, like we see in the movie and in the book, that the DNA of a frog allowed them to procreate in the park, which creates the whole issue that they were afraid of outside of, Dennis Nedry being a corrupt fraud, I guess. My disdain for the guy is very high, because if it would have worked, it would have been great. But that's another rant on its own. So, comparing the dinosaurs in real life to the dinosaurs of the park and obviously Jurassic World is going to be completely different, because they even acknowledge in both the book and in the Jurassic World series that they bred the dinosaurs with the idea of entertainment, not necessarily to be accurate. So everyone knew dinosaurs were scaly and scary and like ferocious looking. So Dr. Wu does actually say in the movies that they knew that dinosaurs had feathers. They didn't want a cuddly dinosaur. So with that all in mind, like, you have to know where you're going into. So we're going to kind of break this down going forward in ways of movie life versus real life. Now, with all that said, let's go into the guns that we do see in the franchise and in the lore. So very popularly, we see in book 1 something that's iconic. How can you hate this thing? The Spaz 12. Now, everybody in the gun world knows the issues that the Spaz 12 had. It was riddled with mechanical issues, but it looked cool. So every movie in the 80s and early 90s all had the Spaz 12 as that cool guy gun. Which, if I was a park ranger at Jurassic Park and I knew that the skin was kind of more resemblant of a frog's or amphibian rather than the scaly, hardy side that we see of the real dinosaur, then yes, shotguns might work. They're low velocity, nice wide spread. It'll get the job done, which ironically, in every movie we see a gun used, but we hardly ever see it be effective. Now, with that said, so in the book it's a completely different story, because in the book they actually talk about how bullet resistant really the dinosaurs are, which we'll get to that in a minute. We're going to talk about the movie versions first. So again, Spaz 12 here. Beautiful gun. And that's pretty much the only gun we see on screen in use in Jurassic Park 1. Now jumping to number 2 and 3, I'm going to combine the two because the guns you see are kind of the same. You see a lot more guns like this. You see a lot more ARs, AKs, but you also see, most notably, I'll put it up here, you see this guy here, he's got a G3. Not a bad case, or not a bad choice. It's one of my favorite systems. But something I would note is why? Which, these guys are mercenaries, so we're kind of gonna look over that, and then we're gonna say that, you know, these guys are paid mercenaries. They are gonna do the job that they're paid to do, and they're gonna carry their guns of choice. All fine by them. I do think, however, that the 7.62 by 51 choice was a good choice, because that round is it's a good hunting cartridge. Like, it was based off it's a shortened version of the 30-06. It's a good intermediate, it's a decent intermediate cartridge, and it's beautiful. But we'll get into my issues with why I would not carry something this big when we get there. Now let's fast forward to Jurassic Park World. Let's fast forward to Jurassic World, and we see a lot of the similar stuff. You know, we have a bunch of mercenaries carrying speed guy guns like this, or like the AR-15s behind me. Lot of good stuff, there, and I'm not gonna go the Jurassic World 3. The Jurassic World series. I'm not gonna get into very much because, like I said, they're all the same. Now, however, there is one gun that caught my interest in the movies that I think was the best choice at the best moment. In Jurassic Park 2, Lost World, we see Roland Tembo carries a actual nice English-made big bore, and when I say big bore, it's not your 4570 like a lot of us think of as the, you know, master cartridge for big game. He carries, I believe, it's a .61 rifle, or double-barreled rifle, that's actually made for hunting big game like elephant, giraffe, you know, back before that stuff was illegal. And they're not cheap guns. I do remember looking it up one time, and the name escapes me. I'll put the name down here. So Roland Tembo was smart to carry something like that, like this, when going there, because that gun will drop a T-Rex. That's no question. It's made for big fat game like elephants and stuff. So on him, good choice. Again, the one discredit I will give is it's only 2 shots. Say what happens if you miss, which, you know, big target, who could miss that? Well, as any game hunter knows, there are vital parts of the animal and there are non-vital parts of the animal, just like us humans. So even with a big gun like that against a big animal like that, you're gonna have good spots, you're gonna have bad spots. You're gonna have where one round might get him really good, but he's still gonna be able to chase after you. So I think having a 2-barreled rifle is not the best choice here. So going from that, we're going to step into the book world real quick, because I think in the book there's a lot more realistic for game and like just survival of a park. So we have the Lasat rifle, which I'll show a picture of here because it's actually in the movie too. It's in Jurassic World. That was kind of like the gun to use in that movie because they were trying to save the dinosaurs, not necessarily hunt them. So the Lasat air rifle here is a good choice, and it's used very much in the book. And then we have the LAR Grizzly rifle. And then my personal favorite, and the whole reason I made this whole other section up, is one of the big differences between the book and the movie is at the end of Jurassic Park 1, Muldoon lives. And this guy, in his brilliant wisdom, which I think, given his experience as a drunkard and as a safari game hunter, he chose to carry a rocket launcher. Yeah. They were going to, which I think was a great choice, in my opinion. And now that we've gone over the books, or the guns that are in the movies and in the books, we are going to talk about what I would carry in Jurassic Park. All right, so now that we're back to Jurassic Park, and I'm going there, obviously I'm going to carry, on my side, I'm going to carry a 10 millimeter of some kind, something that's got enough ass behind it, but it's going to be able to have enough rounds in the magazine to do so. So 10 millimeter, full size, some kind of like a SIG 220 or a full size or even performance center version of the M&P 45 or M&P 10 millimeter. So, but when we go to my rifle choice here, I don't want something that's an AR-10 platform or a G3 FAL. Those guns are just too big, too heavy, because remember, you are walking through the woods, you are tracking, and you're going to have your own gear, you're going to have your own supplies like your MREs, you're going to have your camping equipment and such. So why pick a rifle that is so heavy when you do not need to? Now, at the time of recording, I do not own an 8.6 Blackout, which once I get one, I might change this decision up a little bit, but for right now, we are going to go with my personal rifle, the 450 Bushmaster rifle. Now, as you can see here, my rifle has a lot of customization. It actually features a 7-round magazine. If we drop the bolt here, the bolt is a Wilson Combat bolt. It's got a Wilson Combat custom grip that is in the type of 1911 because for me that's comfortable. It's got a laminated stock, which is good because you want some weight to help control the recoil. It's got a full barrel, a full weighted barrel, and it's got a Trijicon Credo scope on here, which I love. Probably the most expensive part of this build, if I'm being completely honest with you. Yeah, but what makes it different is the caliber that it shoots, and that's something, the whole reason I would do it, or I would carry this in Jurassic Park here, because you have the 450 Bushmaster cartridge, which is essentially, I know hardcore gun guys are gonna make fun of me for this, but it's essentially a shortened, modeled down version of the 450 or 4570 here. Same bullet, roughly, a little bit different design. You can see one's a rimmed, one's rimless, but all in all, it would give you a adequate advantage on the battlefield. Now, I know there are some people out there that are going to say, well, what about a 44 Magnum in a lever action? What about a, 4570 in a lever action like they saw in Jurassic World? Well, that's cool and all, but again, as much as you're going to want something that's going to punch through that armor if it has it, because I'm debating on, like, as I'm filming, whether I want to go with it into this with the mindset of real dinosaur or Jurassic Park dinosaur. And I think given the lore and given the facts of the matter, I do believe that the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park and the dinosaurs of the real fossil record will agree on this, that you're going to need something to punch through those scales, because we don't see any dinosaurs die on screen from gunfire. And if you read the books, there are instances where it is done, but everybody's more familiar with the movies, so, because, God forbid anybody pick up a book nowadays. But for me, like, yes, Owen Grady's choice of a lever action is beautiful. The Marlin 1894 is a great weapon system. However, it leaves a lot to be desired in the capacity round. Whereas this thing, you have a 7-round box magazine, you have semi-automatic, whereas lever action can slow you down. And when you're talking about maintenance, especially if you don't know how long you're going to be on the site or trucking around, an AR-15 is a lot easier to maintenance than a lever action. That's what, actually, historically speaking, that's one of the reasons why the lever action was never really introduced into military use is because it's as good and reliable as it is a very complicated system to take apart and clean. So my choice would be this 450 Bushmaster, and not as much as I love the 7.62x51 cartridge, which we're going to go ahead and show this thing off while we're talking about it. So this is my family's build 7.62x51 AR-10 platform here. Give us a break. It's ugly, but it was a lot of trial and error. It was only like the second rifle that we built together. So, and this was probably 10 years ago. So, give us some credit here. It does have a 20-round box magazine of 7.62x51, and as you can see, chamber's empty. So, yes. This thing is awesome. It shoots great. It looks ugly, but it shoots great. However, it's a little on the heavy side. I'd pick this. I would hate to guess how much either of these guns are. I've never weighed them. Well, I take that back. My 450 is a 7-pound rifle, which is plenty heavy enough for what it is. It's an AR. It's a 7-pound AR-15. The reason it's so heavy is the barrel and the bolt carrier and the stock. Everything else on it is pretty much basic AR-15 size and weight. Whereas this thing, you have bigger lower, bigger upper, massive bolt carrier. This stock's actually lighter than the 450 stock, so we'll give it a break on that one. But again, just to finish this all off, I would not want this on the island of Isla Sorna or in the Mesozoic era forest. And I think that on that note, I think I should conclude the video. I know this is going to be a longer one. As I wrap up filming, I might add some stuff in here, but overall, just remember that Jurassic Park is just a movie. When people sit there and say, well, I want a gun that's able to stop a dinosaur, or if you're like Marlon, who went on their website and actually claimed that their lever action is T-Rex rated, it's funny, it's great, but you know, there's a lot of people that don't go outside and touch grass nowadays, and they don't understand the difference between reality and, you know, movies. So be careful when you're in a conversation with people like that and they start talking about exorbitancies and like whatever their rifle platform is for and like whatever their handgun pick is for. Like, make sure, like, if they start talking about being able to stop a dinosaur, or if they're worried about something that's going to be a burglar in their neighbor's house through the refrigerator. I believe Father Tristan already did an episode on that scenario. The fact of the matter is that dinosaurs aren't around anymore. The most dangerous animal you're going to run into nowadays is probably a hippo or a Alaskan grizzly bear. And trust me, the 450 would do enough to stop both of them, because it's just got the ass behind it. Or the from what I'm reading and from what I'm seeing on the videos and all the critics, I would say 8.6 blackout would probably do the job too. But again, I don't own one yet. So with all that said, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on today's video. If you like me talking about other stuff than just the guns and the politics, leave a comment. Let me know. I'm trying to find good ways to grow this channel and keep it fresh and renewed, because I am tired of talking about politics. Guns, I'm never tired of talking about, so maybe I'll start just branching into stuff that I do like. So like dinosaurs, cars. Suggestions in the comments would be greatly appreciated. Like, subscribe if you want to. You don't have to. All I ask is you guys watch my videos. With all that said, thank you guys, and I hope you enjoy the Super Bowl. Today is Super Bowl day, day of filming. Let's hope the Chiefs lose. I know they're not. The refs are going to make sure of that, but one can hope. As always, watch your six, keep your head on a swivel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.